Susana Elizarraraz. I am the Deputy Director of the Latinx Education Collaborative. I am a teacher by trade, so I was a 6th grade teacher for 5 years, a teacher in total for 6 here in the neighborhood where I grew up and where I live in the Northeast. I'm super proud of that. Taught for the beginning of my career and then switched over to the LEC because of its mission. Its mission is to increase Latinx representation in K-12 classrooms, which is really an important mission to me because research shows that students, when they have teachers who look like them, they're more likely to graduate high school. The Latino graduation rate on a national level is 74%, which is one of the lowest of all the demographics. And so there's obviously something happening in our K-12 system that is discouraging us as a people to complete our graduations, our high school diplomas. And we have found one solution, which is to have more teachers of color, and we now know more than ever that representation matters. So the LEC is working to increase Latinx representation in schools, and we do that in a variety of ways. So of course there's like the statistical reasons, right? The graduation rate, research showing that students are more likely to graduate when they have teachers who look like them. But when you hear the stories, they like exemplify why we need more teachers of color. You have students who will say, they relate more with their teachers of color. When you have people in your community who are like you, you're able to relate with them more. And when unfortunately school doesn't feel a successful place for students, you would hope that there are people there that they can connect with. There's actually recent research that came out of California about Latino high school students, and if they had a Latino teacher within their first 2 blocks or their first 2 hours of school, they're more likely to come to school, period. It's underestimated how much community and culture matters to people. We see also how the lack of representation impacts teachers. So teachers are, on average, they leave the classroom after 5 years. That average is a little lower for Latino teachers. And when we talk to those teachers and we ask, what's impacting your decisions to leave, it's often their lack of feeling of belonging. They don't feel welcome in their communities, school communities. They feel discriminated against in a lot of instances. And so again, when you're thinking about who administration is, when you're thinking about the lack of Latino administration, the lack of Latino representation, period, that's really impacting the morale and the retention of Latino teachers too. So. One of the things, so I'm really proud of the work that the Latinx Education Collaborative does, but we also have a sister organization, Educative, and their mission is to increase and foster the collective power of Latinos around the issues of education here in Kansas City. I'm really proud of the fact that both of those things exist under our roof because it gives us an opportunity to do more advocacy work. So on the LEC side, we do, basically our focal point is students and teachers. On the Rev Ed side, the focal point is students and parents. And as we've started to do more work on the Rev Ed side, and I've seen that start to bloom, seeing your parents and the people who you serve, it makes me kind of emotional and makes me really proud, to see people who come to us with the same issues that my parents needed help with. We cannot get to a place where Latino students are thriving and feeling welcomed in schools and thriving academically until our parents, we erase that gap for them that exists for them to be able to access information in schools. So a big thing for Latino parents, and a lot of parents in general, honestly, is the lack of digital literacy. And when schools more than ever are using technology, which is awesome and great, that means that our parents and our students have to be well versed in technology in order to access information, right? And so when our schools are now built around technology and digital literacy, If our parents have never had a computer, don't have an email address, don't know what Wi-Fi is and don't have it, right? We can't expect them to check those online messages from the teachers, right? Or check their students' grades, or, you hear a lot from schools like, oh, just send your teacher an email, That's, leaps and bounds for some people, right? And, that's not to say that these folks aren't gifted and talented in other ways. But because a lot of us come from places where we don't necessarily have access to technology, we need organizations like ours and like Revolución Educativa that are trying to bridge that gap, because we as an education system can't continue to expect our parents and our students to interact with that system in a certain way if we're not willing to support parents in closing that gap. It's changing people's lives to really sit in that moment and for them to be so proud of themselves, to now be like, I'm gonna be able to use this email address to email teachers or to sign into an account to see my kids' grades. I think about my mom, and how she didn't have access to my grades. She didn't have access to my schedule or knowing any of that stuff. She just trusted that I knew. And that's still the case for a lot of students, them being the ones who have to keep track of everything and which is a great skill to learn, but to have a parent be able to do that alongside you, it's just life-changing for parents and for a lot of families. So